So, welcome everybody to our next episode of the podcast Strategiewerkstatt, our small hitchhiker's guide through strategy. Today with me is Andrija from Tuke, but I think the best person to introduce you is yourself. So go ahead. Who are you and what do you do?
Thank you, Marcus. So, hi everybody. My name is Andrija. I am principal software engineering consultant, which spent about 14 and something years. And as I like to say, so I started my journey from the kindergarten of Tuke as a junior software developer, and over from to the lead architect and solution architect. I changed to the leadership, was responsible for different roles in the leadership, both in Austria, but also in international setting. And since beginning of this year, I was assigned to the one of the most strategic projects that we have in these volatile times of the industry to co-drive our transformation efforts with regards to AI. So basically, being we as a company, as an IT solution provider, ready to use these tools and techniques to create better value for our clients tomorrow and today.
AI, right? There was this thing called AI. What's super interesting for me is, as you say, Tuke does consulting in the IT and digitalization space, right? And you help other companies do their own transformations, right? But now what I'm really curious about is, I mean, you now transform your own company, like eat your own dog food. That's where I'm really super interested in. What's the stuff you do to yourself so that you learn in order to improve the world for your customers?
This is a really great question because so typically I start this thing and say, well, AI is a tool, still is a tool, and it's about people. So transformation is about people. And this is the challenging part of it because AI is now with us for a couple of years or even more, but with this hype and this bubble that we are feeling, it's there and it's overhyped everywhere. And what does it create? It creates that it is becoming, or it is already, an emotional topic for every single person out there. And being overly excited and ecstatic around this, or reluctant, or you don't have enough trust in this, or have a fear for your job, you have the entire range of all of these emotions in every single company. And the goal and the challenge around this is actually how to bring these people along to this journey from where they are right now with their emotions and their knowledge, and create a bridge for them to the future that we actually don't know how it's going to look like, but it is inevitable that we start moving. And this is what we need to do, because also as an IT service provider, we understood that this is something that is radically changing the way how we are going to work tomorrow. It's not about code completion itself. It's about thinking of how we create value as a service provider in the future and what is our value add there. And this is where we need to combine all of these things together.
To say it's a tool, so like code completion, code analysis, these are all parts that's a technique. You speak a very strong language about that's about emotions, that's about the fears, right? So what did you encounter when you started this journey at Tuke? Because you were at the forefront. You should be at the forefront, I would say, right? So how did you tackle that from the start? Full well knowing from all the transformation history and knowledge that you have that this again will be a
So we try to approach it human-centric. And there are a couple of
human-centric, okay?
So that was the thing how we were driven to. And we were thinking about, okay, so there are a couple of aspects to this. So first of all, you would like to have people experiment. So this is a not exact science right now, because the entire volatility and the pace of the developments simply doesn't allow us anymore to rely on the established best practices that we can then build upon for next 3 years, because it changes on a weekly or monthly basis. So it's completely crazy what is how fast this is moving. So you need also to establish this learning organization, this cycle. We call it cybernetic delivery method in a way how we approach it. And it's about creating connection between our delivery teams using these tools, understanding what application is possible, then using these things to derive the reusable patterns, and then piping them back into the organization and create and spin this cycle of learning so that we can actually be on top of these developments. Now, this is basically how you start, right? And to get there and to
Give
enable
me,
this.
like, before you get to the point to get there, give us an example of what such a pattern would be, right? So you said it's you look into the tools, you see what's possible, you get the patterns, and then put this into the org. So what's a pattern you would see, for instance?
For example, one of the patterns is that we encountered everywhere is what help us, for example, delivering a software in the right manner is providing a proper context to the steps. So if you look at this as a software delivery, as a fast forward process of handing over some artifacts down the stream,
Yeah.
so you would like to reduce this guesswork down the stream. You would like to get there to do the right things or to at least realize as soon as possible. So the entire concept about the agility and true agility pipes back into this. And what
Mhm.
AI tools allow us is basically to lower the barrier on transferring this context elsewhere.
Mhm.
So creating an optimal context so that the humans and machines can do their work and provide it as an input. And
Mhm.
this can be anything. For example, having structured product backlog items in a way to have not only the write down context and acceptance criteria, but maybe also working syntax test cases that should cover also edge cases of the features, and this kind of stuff could be one of the patterns that could be
Mhm.
also central part and help us shift the quality left and get really there to do the right things because AI helps us doing the things right.
Okay, so that's a pattern, right? So like that context matters. The context you built in the start would normally go through a documentation of add-ons in the code so that you better understand what's going on. But this gives you all the context you would need then in a later stage of the product or project to, yeah, give that information to the customer, to the stakeholders and so on. So that's what you mean by context, right? So like getting all that together into one thing. Okay. Cool.
So basically, the things that you have as an implicit knowledge, as something that's clear, you would write it down. So it's clear not only for you having this context, but it's also clear for the person next to you who just started the
Mhm.
project, and also for the people down the stream that maybe don't
Mhm.
have a close context and cannot speak to the end stakeholders on the other side. So also this transferring of this information becomes much easier and much more accurate in the
Yeah.
process.
And the individual developer might not need the skills to write a perfectly like sentences. So it can be like buzzwords, it can be like bullet points, like anything, right? Because the AI helps us to condense this back into a seamless context. I think that's really the power. You don't need this additional knowledge of writing documentation anymore because it's you can like pull it together. Okay. So
And
now, yeah,
just
go ahead, Andrea.
just a wrap around what where it brings us all together is actually to the point where we say it becomes again about engineering, the
Mhm.
age of this, and sorry for using the old monkeys where you just create yet another feature. That's not the point. It's about engineering the process of this information flow and this artifact flow throughout the things, and knowing what kind of informations are relevant for the steps that you need to take to create production ready software. And I think this is something where I see as a passionate architect and a technical person kind of a backdoor for reintroducing the good engineering practices back into the flows.
The renaissance of the good engineering practices, yeah,
Could
maybe.
say that.
So I was stopping your like your flow. So you we came from deriving these patterns. You like now showed us what such a pattern would be. Now, how's the next step? How do you cycle those back?
Yeah. So we have a community. So the idea behind it to have a community and also set of tools that would allow you to kind of personalize experiences happening in the delivery. You would like to pipe them back. So you would typically try to create an abstraction level above it and provide it to the pattern to the sorry as a pattern to some kind of a platform back to the environment. And this can be done anything. It can be a real DevOps platform that provisions some of these tools and configurations. We are having, for example, are building right now our AI experience hub that basically kind of, a knowledge management system. The holy grail of knowledge exchange that kind of never really works, but maybe now we have a really chance to make it work.
We still hope that that one time it will work.
You know, the holy grail, I would say, I say. Yeah, but I think this is the thing. So it is about it, and what is really behind all of this? It is about sensing the people of what kind of use cases in their own disciplines, in their own spheres are there that they can use. And they don't need to be overspecified because there is, for example, at Tuke, so I say we have a really so many great people out there that are really able to create miracles with this. They just need the right incentive, a right idea. And and the point about this enablement, yet again, is providing the people these ideas not through the hype from the internet or ChatGPT that tells them, yeah, well, this is the way, but saying, hey, your colleague did this, by the way. So it has some different credibility. It also helps scale. And you can also reference the people from the other side. And you can ask, okay, so how did you actually do this? Then it's just a Teams message or a call away. It makes it more tangible and yeah, helps people then to relate more for this.
Now, I get it, right? So I'm in a similar business. We do like similar stuff. We don't do AI, right? Because I'm not an IT person. I can code a bit, but I'm not so good than you. Still, there were a lot of buzzwords you brought in, DevOps and so on, right? But now when you go out into the real world, you see companies that need help, that have a need, that have a pain. Like drill this down to a message like what you tried to tell me, so that yeah, my boys are 10 years old, right? So that a schoolboy, schoolgirl would understand what you just told me. Like drill it down for a customer that has no idea about AI, if possible. Andrea.
I can try.
Yeah.
So the real introduction of AI is not about just introducing the tools. It's about providing these tools and use them for the right use cases to help the value creation. And it's not it's not silver bullet. It's not one size fits all. It's far away from it. It's about finding the right applications for the right things and providing them with the right context to succeed. And I think this is the key there.
It's about the use cases, right? Now, in another podcast I had, I don't know with whom it was, I think with Tim, we discussed about the topic of boring AI, right? So, and there, the hypothesis was that a lot of companies try to put the most complex system, the most complex problem into an AI system and try to solve it. And he basically said, no, that's totally the wrong approach. Like, get the most boring, yeah, and put this into a good AI system so that you can really get time free and then use this spare time to like build more complex stuff. Is that something that you also did at Züge, and that's also something that you see at your clients?
This is definitely one way to look at this because of course all of this AI stuff, yeah, so of course you want to automate some stuff, right? And the AI right now with all its capabilities provides you a means to do this, but the smaller the problem space, the more bounded this context is, the easier is of course to automate this and get back reliable results. So this is one thing. And the second thing is, and this is something that I really like even more, but this is kind of a step number 2 or 3, is when you understand how this works and what is possible with it, you change the way how you approach problems. And this is something where we say at some point there is a mindset shift happening that allows you to approach problems from a different angle. And now, for example, there are other things that are commodity. You can code your prototype in 1 week that is looks and feels right, that was literally needing a team for 5 people for 2 months, you know. So what does it really do for us, right? Or what unlocks these kind of things? And I think this is really interesting challenges there. So I think there is both. You would start with, of course, automating the boring and repetitive and manual stuff because they are really not that complex in a way, right? And then you would think about, okay, but how I get from A to B and create this really, or bring this value from the individual gains on the process level on the business level impact. I think this is the challenge, but then it's the industry-wide challenge.
That's yeah. Reflect back on the journey from Züge. What was the one thing that you would have done differently in this AI transformation?
Only one.
Well, okay, let's hope that maybe what's the first that pops to your mind?
So in the early stages of this transformation, we were thinking about these use cases and we were trying, that was beginning of this year, we were trying, for example, to over personalize the solutions and build some custom solutions for specific problems, which proven to be really wrong way because the tools evolve so rapidly that you simply cannot cope with these developments in a way. So we pivoted then at some point to the mainstream solutions and tools and try to shape the problems around the tools. So basically making the problems AI ready to be solved with these tools. And I think this is something that I would really like to change, because we lost some time there. We created some invaluable experiences, of course, on the way, but we could have invested this time in a better way.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's also like a good tip for anyone like going into that field, right? So to not over personalize too much at the beginning, because I mean, this field is changing so fast, it's insane. And that's why I almost feel bad about asking like a summarizing question, because the field is moving so fast. Yeah. So where are we? We started off with human centricity. We started off with that's what really transformation is all about. We now talked about AI and the like tech behind it. So where's this all going to? Paint the picture. What do we have? 2025, 2030, because that seems far, but it's like super fine with the speeds we are looking at right now.
So I so what I'm seeing right now, so let me try to get there. So what I'm seeing right now is there is a immense development of these tools. There is model coming out every week, being even better than the model before. And I simply see that companies right now, not all of them, of course, but many of them are simply not ready. And both from mindset, and from the data, from the governance perspective, from all of these kind of things that are really necessary to use it. And it feels like, we are talking and seeing the flying cars everywhere. And then I try to push my car down the road to make it run afterwards. And I think this is something where we need to cope and to get there and to really find the right applications for this. Where we are headed, I can really imagine at some point that we are going to have proper use cases and proper interest. So I'm dreaming in my own world still. So having real engineering wrapped around these agents or these AI tools and this stuff that is going to enable us to create value. And the competitive advantage is going to be really the human creativity and human capability of understanding the problems that are domain specific and creating, because AI brings us to the point where we are going in the direction of standardization. It helps us standardize a lot of things, right? So it is going to be a key in the next time to create, to give some colors to this gray area of standardization and help us really create some cool stuff and cool solutions and bring them faster to the market.
I think that's a beautiful sentiment for the end. And I simply want to repeat the sentence because I liked it. You said having real engineering wrapped around the AI tools, having real engineering wrapped around the AI tools. I think that's what we need to get away from this hype, where vibe coding and this incredible speed is happening, to like really wrap it into a package that's sustainable, because that will be the next like stepping stone to like propel us even further.
Absolutely.
Andrea, thanks for the episode. Wish you all the best, and I'm sure the listeners will enjoy what you've told about Tuke and your own story on AI. Thank you very much.